Without question, that's the hardest call of my career so far, and I hope of my career ever. And it seems like it's a call that's never really going to be in the past.
I think almost everybody who responded that night was at home fast asleep. It was raining. It was a very cold, kind of miserable, foggy night. The 911 dispatchers actually had the girls on the phone and were giving us updates the whole time, which was one of the worst parts of the whole call, I think.
Yeah. As I'm driving down, I get a call from one of my firefighters who lives down the street, and basically just telling me there's heavy fire. It's a very serious call.
It happened so fast that it's hard to slow it down.
I think the three of us went to the back of the house first, because that's where I met up with you guys to try and gain entry on the backside.
The girl's father was there, and they were trying to get an understanding of where in the house the girls were.
He kept saying the second floor, and I kept looking up, and you see the roof, and you're like, there's no second floor.
There was fire blowing out every window and every door. There was heavy smoke.
I remember getting the back of your engine and only seeing that 35-foot ladder, and it just heart sank a little bit because I know how big and heavy those are. And I found another exterior firefighter, and she helped, and we got it up, and we went to the roof, and all I feel is asphalt. I don't feel any windows. I don't feel anything else.
We kind of crawled towards the center, and just all of a sudden I kind of got a wisp of a window. And
as I went in the window, I felt something that went over it, and ended up being the youngest girl.
I grabbed her, I drug her kind of away towards the roof, towards the ladder. You know, she obviously didn't have a pulse and wasn't breathing. So I started CPR.
After we got her to the bottom of the roof, near the roof ladders, Chris had started making entry to get to the second child, and I went back up and I started going in when he had the second one, and him and I worked together to get her out.
Just inside the window, I get oriented, start a search, and just immediately find the girl just a couple feet inside the window, and passed her over my head out the window to Eric.
I remember grabbing her by the hand and dragging her across the roof to kind of get to a little bit safer spot, which, the idea of, pulling lifeless children across the roof to safety is still one that is not easy. What became hard for me is after we got down, kind of calmed down a little bit, we're sitting in the rehab area. We got word back from the hospital that the valiant efforts of the EMS crew and the hospital staff at the trauma center had gotten return to circulation. Essentially, they had gotten they had a pulse again. They were still obviously in an extreme situation, and then we did receive word back that despite the valiant efforts by everybody involved, that the injuries were too severe and that they had both died of that.
Yeah. In hindsight, I want to give some credit a lot of credit actually, to the guys who were inside on the hose line, because when you look back at it, we were on top of a lot of fire. Like the seat of the fire was directly underneath us on that roof. Correct. So the fact that they were down there applying water kept us alive, kept us able to do the job that we did.
In emergency services, we've talked a lot more about mental health now, and everybody realizes it's okay not to be okay.
We've gone back and forth numerous times talking about what could we've done differently, and the amount of debriefing we've done, I think this was definitely the hardest call I've ever been on, but it's difficult to process something like this. At the time, I was fine. The days after, and Bryan knows because I talked to him nonstop after, it was definitely a rough time.
This was absolutely the toughest call of my career.
Yeah.
Like Scott, I've been in EMS since 2000, done a lot of different things in my career. Fate, death is not something that is new to me by any stretch, but this call impacted me for sure in a way that others didn't.
We've talked about this before. It sort of inspired us all to go to the next level with what we're doing and train harder and just be ready for anything at any time. So in some ways, it's been beneficial to us. You know, it drives crew, it drives training. We all wish it hadn't ever happened, but we try to make the best of it by letting it improve us in the long term.